Welcome to Old World Mastery. Think about medieval bread. What comes to mind? Probably something rough, tough, tasteless, peasant food, right? Something you'd only eat to survive. What if I told you that's all wrong? What if I told you that medieval bakers, without factories, chemicals, or fancy ovens, mastered secrets to making bread that lasts longer, tastes better, and is more nutritious than almost anything you can buy in a supermarket today? In this video, I'm going to reveal 7 forgotten medieval bread-making secrets that were lost to time. Techniques so powerful they could completely revolutionize the way you bake. And stick around till the end because I'll reveal the surprising reason we abandoned bread that was actually better for us. But first, let me ask you something. Have you ever spent hours making a beautiful loaf from scratch only to see it go stale in 2 days? Or bought that expensive artisan sourdough that just doesn't taste quite right? It's frustrating, isn't it? The problem is we've forgotten the essential knowledge that every medieval baker knew by heart. If that sounds familiar, if you're sick of bread that's either full of chemicals or goes bad in a flash, do me a favor and hit that like button. It tells the YouTube gods to share this with more people who care about real food. All right, you ready? Let's uncover what history has been hiding. Maslin bread, the loaf that never failed. Today, we're obsessed with categories: white bread, whole wheat, rye. But medieval bakers were smart. They knew that mixing grains wasn't a compromise, it was brilliant food science. They created Maslin bread by combining wheat and rye. The wheat gave it a nice rise and structure, but the rye had these amazing enzymes that kept the bread moist for weeks and naturally fought off mold. They worked together like a perfectly tuned engine. A 2018 study actually recreated these recipes and found that Maslin bread stayed fresh 40% longer and resisted mold 3 times longer than modern bread. These bakers knew, without any labs, that this bread could keep a family fed through a harsh winter. That's not primitive, my friends. That's engineering. Trencher bread, the plate you can eat. This is a genius-level hack. In medieval times, they didn't just bake bread to eat, they baked bread to be the plate. Trencher bread was a super dense, flat loaf made from older grain. You'd serve your entire meal on it, and it would soak up all the juices and gravies. At the end, you could eat your flavor-packed plate or give it to the poor. Zero waste. They made it by using less water and baking it long and slow. The result? A plate that didn't need washing, never went to a landfill, and could last for weeks. Compare that to a paper plate. Ship's bread, the immortal loaf. How do you make bread that can survive for months at sea in damp, rat-infested ships without a single preservative? The answer was twice-baked bread. They'd bake a super stiff dough once, cool it completely, and then bake it again and sometimes a third time at a low temperature. This sucked out every last drop of moisture. The enemy wasn't time, it was water. Without water, mold and bacteria can't grow. Records show this bread, also known as hardtack, was still edible after a year. For modern-day preppers or campers, this is gold. Bread that lasts seasons, not days. You just dunked it in some stew, wine, or water to bring it back to life. Rye and honey bread, the pharmacy in a loaf. Now this is amazing. In medieval monasteries, bread wasn't just food, it was medicine. They combined rye, which we now know is great for gut health, with raw honey, a natural antibacterial powerhouse. But the real magic was the 3 to 5 day long slow fermentation. This process created compounds that actually healed the body. They had specific recipes: bread with fennel for stomach aches, bread with thyme for coughs. They were creating food that healed. Forest bread, the famine insurance. What happened when the wheat and rye crops failed? Did people starve? Not if they were smart. They turned to the forest. They made bread from acorns and chestnuts. Now, you can't just eat acorns, they're toxic, but medieval people knew how to leach out the toxins with a long soaking process, leaving behind a nutritious, protein-rich flour. Chestnut flour was even simpler, creating a naturally sweet, dense bread that provided long-lasting energy. This was food security that didn't depend on farms or grocery stores. This was pure survival knowledge. Ale barm, the original sourdough secret. Long before commercial yeast packets, bakers had a secret weapon, ale barm. It's the foam skimmed off the top of fermenting beer. Every village had a brewery, and every brewer's foam was a baker's treasure. It was packed with active, supercharged yeast. But get this, the hops in the beer are naturally antimicrobial, so this ale barm bread had a secret ingredient that made it resist mold for a week or more. The two crafts, baking and brewing, were part of one perfect system. Salt-preserved dough, the perpetual starter. This might be the most practical lost secret of all. Medieval bakers didn't stress about feeding a sourdough starter every single day as we do. Instead, they'd take a piece of their risen dough, mix it with a lot of salt, and store it. The salt put the yeast into hibernation, and when they needed to bake, they'd just take a piece, rinse it, mix it with fresh flour and water, and boom, the yeast would wake up ready to go. No daily feeding, no guilt, just bread making that fits your schedule, not the other way around. So, you see the pattern here? All these methods tell one big story. Medieval bakers saw bread as part of a system connected to brewing, to the forest, to medicine, to the community. When the Industrial Revolution came, we made a trade. We traded resilience for convenience. We swapped nutrition for a long shelf life in plastic wrap. We swapped real food, which sustained people through winters, for bread that's mostly air and chemicals. The question isn't whether medieval bread was better. The evidence is clear that in most ways that matter, it was. The real question is, are we willing to relearn what we've lost? If you're tired of bread that fails you and you're ready to reclaim these powerful, timeless skills, then hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're diving deep into forgotten food knowledge every single week. And now, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me which of these 7 techniques are you most excited to try. I read every single one. This is more than just baking. It's about being self-sufficient. It's about reclaiming the knowledge our ancestors perfected. Let's bring back real bread.